Okay, this is the second part of the video lectures on Chapter 19, Creation Response to Wellspring to Evaluation. So the last couple things that I really want to talk about with this are the affirmations associated with this model, with the AMA model, or AWA model, and some key points taken away from the evaluation by Genevieve Chandler. So the first thing is that according to the AWA method, which I believe is a very applicable and great method for teaching writing, there's some ideals of it that don't necessarily work so well in a lower level writing class. Other than that, though, the model itself is pretty good. And there's a lot that you as students can take away from it. So the first five essential affirmations are: everyone has a strong and unique voice, which is something that students really need to be telling themselves. Everyone is born with creative genius. Writing as an art form belongs to all people, regardless of economic class or educational level. These three are imperative for students to understand, as well as the teachers. The teaching of craft can be done without damage to a writer's original voice or artistic self-esteem. That's something that's more for the teacher, or if you're also giving feedback to a peer. And then a writer is someone who writes. That's pretty self-explanatory. Now, within Chandler's evaluation, there are a couple things. I don't want to go through the entire study, but there are a couple things I do want to point out. She makes a good point in the introduction that evaluation, and this is the bottom of 323, evaluation of creative writing ranges from harsh critique to encouraging feedback, from red marked papers with a grade and minimal feedback to portfolios with feedback and no grades. Though many of us who work with creative writers prefer not to have to assign a percentage or letter grade to their work, for academic classes, grades are usually required, which is true. I don't particularly believe in grades. I would rather just give students feedback. The thing with grades, though, is that, especially in core classes or lower level composition classes like English 100, you have to, typically grades are what are the motivating factors. In most cases, you're not motivated. Students typically aren't motivated by the act of receiving feedback and learning for the sake of learning. They are working towards a grade, something that is going to help their GPA. So ideally, it would be nice to not have to give grades, but it's just the way academia works. Now, within the study itself, she goes over the closing process and three essential items, which are affirmation, appreciation, and appraisal. And this is something that I know a lot of educators try to do. I try to do it. And it's something that I think you, as students, should be aware of, and also something when you're asked to workshop a paper or if a friend asks you for feedback, something that you need to keep in mind. You need to, there needs to be affirmation, which is, this is part of the closing, something that you can get out of the experience, both as the teacher and as the student. Appreciation, verbalizing appreciation provides an opportunity to express gratitude. Thank you for sharing this with me. I'm happy to help, blah, blah, blah. And then appraisal, giving that feedback. During the workshops, I always say I want you to focus on both the positive and the negative, explain why. You're evaluating, it's important to remember that you're evaluating the work and criticizing the work, not the author, okay? And then I just want to point out on 329, there's also a mention that you should read your writing aloud. Then towards the end, Chandler makes a great point that, this is on 330, creative writers can be born or buried as a result of feedback, evaluation, or grading. Just as in the writing process, for evaluation, the teacher's response needs to be delicate and sensitive while being authentic and encouraging. That's a tough balance to strike, but it's something that we all strive for. And it's something that students need to be aware of, that a lot of times feedback can be misunderstood. even between student and instructor, between student and student, whatever. I believe that the process of giving feedback would be much more effective if everyone was aware of the intentions of each party. That the intention is not to hurt you, not to rip you apart, not to tear you down, not to make you feel like shit. It's to provide feedback that will facilitate knowledgeable growth. So this intention is, finding that balance is important, but it's also important to understand the intentions of others. And that's sort of the big takeaway from this, I think. So while this is, this chapter in this article are not necessarily directed strictly to the writer, student writer can learn a lot from this. And this is, it would be nice if all instructors were aware of this model as well. But like I said, that knowing the intention of each other and the goal, I think making that very clear is probably the first step to making writing classes more effective. And I know I'm not perfect, but it's something that I try to do in my classes, but it's also something that you should try to do when you're giving feedback to each other. Just a reminder, we're going to talk about chapter 21 in class because it's too integrative and cumulative. I don't really want to do it as a video lecture.